It's Friday, October 17th, and I was originally supposed to work today. It was supposed to be the first of 4 days, but they had changed my schedule, and I had decided I was going to go in there and talk to a manager face to face instead of trying to email or call. And I had already gotten in by name through on a tarot rating the name of my taxi driver as someone who's part of this, whatever, sacrificial cult, like blood cult. And I didn't really want to believe that because he seemed like a really nice guy and a little, like, probably at least 10 years older than me. Black guy, just seemed real nice and, not any romantic interest or anything, just seemed like a nice guy. And I started thinking, do I have a cousin named Gerald? Could it be a different Gerald? And this was several days ago. So I just kind of filed that away. And he had suggested the other day someone I could rent a room from. I had a phone conversation with that person. That was another black man, probably closer to my age. It sounded really good looking or whatever. I was kind of later thinking about that, and I was thinking about some of these illusionists and just like they're dealing with, dark arts, and I was thinking maybe it was more of like some kind of a lustful spirit that he tried to maybe attach to me, but attached to himself, or I don't know how to even say it, but like maybe what was making me find him attractive, like his voice or whatever, was like something in the way of like dark magic, basically. And I rebuked it, and I said, no, like I said out loud, not on the phone to him, but I just said out loud, like, no, I'm not interested. You're not where I'm at. Like, spiritually, I already know you're not. There's no way you are, and I don't care what you look like. I don't care how good you look or how good you sound. Like, no. And I just said it like out loud, like, no, I'm not interested. There's not gonna be any chord, And I already like quickly determined I'm certainly not gonna rent a room from him. And even though that hotel's a little bit more expensive, there's a certain extra security that comes from being in a hotel, even though it's not the kind where you enter into the room from the inside of a big building. Not that kind of security, just, there is management, and, it certainly isn't the greatest place, but more than some, like, private renting a room out of some house from this guy. Anyway, I started to maybe give a little bit more credence to the download, or the, somehow spirit guides warning me about the taxi driver, and this was his associate. So then today, I needed the ride to go to work, even though I was not really going to truly go to work. I was hoping they would let me work for the day, and anyway, I didn't really know what was going to happen. And so I called, I texted the guy last night, the taxi driver, give him a heads up, and that's what I've been doing. And then he actually texted me at 5 in the morning, when I've been sleeping, this time work at 7, I think it was 7:30 for him to pick me up. And I said yes, and then it was like, I don't know, 7:10, and I touched base with him, and I actually asked him for the backup, like a different guy, completely different, another, guy like him. He's just a completely private taxi driver, and I asked for his number as a backup in case I ever had, like, a way that I couldn't get a hold of this first guy, Gerald. And so I asked him to text it to me, and he did. And this is the taxi driver I've used once before, months ago, but I have misplaced the number. Anyway, and I said, but I'm still, using you this morning, and I'll see you in 20 minutes? And he texted yes. And then literally, like, 7 minutes later, he said he was stuck. He didn't say in traffic, he just said he was stuck, and he was sending his other driver, and it would be a black van. And I was like, immediately my heart just this is only through text, but my heart like started racing, and I started feeling like not a good feeling, and I felt like I was supposed to be listening to that, and I was like, okay. And so I texted him back, he texted me, he said he told me the new guy's name is Tyler, and he said, Tyler's out front waiting for you. it's as if Tyler didn't have my number to text me himself. So, you know, it's kind of, he's telling me the guy is out there waiting for me. So I instinctively texted, did you do a background check? Because I know he'd supposedly just hired a new person and bought a new van. I just felt like there was something fishy about it, and that maybe this is like a setup. And with all the stuff I've been dealing with, I mean, without trying to, I don't go around living my life being paranoid, but I also feel like I know, at least now, like I'm supposed to pay attention to my intuition, and I was definitely getting a bad feeling. So he didn't respond, and I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna go out there and just see how I feel. I'm gonna go and like take a good look at this guy. I didn't know if he was old, young, black, white. I didn't know anything. Just Tyler in a black van. So I go out front, and under the like little place you would pull up to pick someone up here at the hotel, there was this white guy and white woman, probably, you know, maybe like 5 or 7 years younger than me, both kind of chubby, and they just didn't look like, it didn't look like a taxi. Like, he didn't look like he was a taxi. They look more like a mom and a dad, and, you know, obviously there weren't kids with them. And I just stopped on the side of the passenger, which is where the woman was sitting, and I motioned to them, and she kind of looked at me like, you know, what do you want? And I said, excuse me. So she like opened her door a little so she could hear me. I said, excuse me. I said, my taxi driver said that there's a replacement taxi in a black van. I said, but y'all don't look like taxi. I said, you're not a, and the guy was looking at me by that point, and I said, I looked at him in the eye, and I said, you're not a taxi driver, are you? And he wouldn't say yes. And it was like really odd. It was like, it probably took him 5 or 7 seconds, and he said, if you're going to Love's truck stop. And I'm like, are you? And then I didn't acknowledge that. I didn't say yes or no or give any clue to what, you know, if I was or wasn't or anything. And I said, are you a taxi driver? And he just like would not say yes. And I was like, okay, this is really fishy. There ain't no way in hell I'm getting in that van. That's what I thought to myself. And I just kind of like looked at them both, and like I kind of like probably rolled my eyes, but I just like walked off really quickly. And it was like, you know, daylight, early morning, enough people around, like no one was gonna like, you know, I mean, get out and like pull me in the van or something. But, you know, I was kind of thinking as I was standing there before I walked off, like I kind of had like this like really quick, almost like, I don't even know how to put it, almost like, I don't really watch movies and stuff. I haven't watched movies in a long time, but like, I don't know, like I just kind of have the thought of them like she was with him to help kind of to make sure they could overpower me, even though he probably could by himself. And I don't even know how to put it, like almost like in my mind in a really fast pace over just a couple of seconds, like almost like a scene playing out in my mind of them like getting me, grabbing me, you know. And like I just feel very strongly they were going to, you know, abduct, kidnap, whatever you want to say it, and murder me, most likely. And, you know, this is all going back to all this stuff that's been going on. And I don't think every tarot message out there is for me or anything like that, but there probably are like 2 readers in particular where it's like nearly every time lately for like months, everything is just so on point to what I'm dealing with. And here it was. And it's not even necessarily their newest stuff. Sometimes it'll be something that's like 5 or 7 months old, pop up on my feed as a first video. And I really feel like when that happens, that usually it's so accurate that I'm like, okay, like my guides are making this feed come up. Like this is so abstract that this like 7-month-old video is just gonna come into my feed. And the very first thing, this happened this afternoon, and after I gotten back and been back at the room for a while, and I didn't end up working or anything, and I didn't really get any answers actually there. Was that too much? Anyway, so one of the first things she was saying was she was talking about a dream she had. In the dream, that she was getting into the car with a woman she knew, and it was a man driving, and that she, like in the dream, says that it's not so much someone she really knew, but she didn't know the man, and she didn't have a good feeling. and she was getting into the maybe it wasn't a van, but she was getting into the vehicle, and she was making a comment and making it be known that she did not trust him. And she said something like that she had like an intuition about like a crowbar being underneath the seat, and that they were gonna, I think she used the word kidnap her. And this was a dream, that she was talking about. So she didn't actually like go anywhere with anybody. But if that wasn't a confirmation, I felt so strongly that was such a confirmation for me that these people, and the taxi driver, he never did respond to me. Whereas I've been using him for like at least a week and a half, regularly going back and forth to work. And he's always been real personable and always, responded, with like, yes, ma'am, or this or that. And he never leaves me hanging. I know he's driving and he might not respond like in the next like 10 seconds, but he always responds like probably within under a half an hour. He never responded to my question about, did you do a background check? It was just this really odd, very overly like fishy, situation. And it's like, there ain't no way in hell I'm getting in the van with these people. And, the tarot message, just that little part of the beginning. I mean, honestly, the whole tarot message was relevant because all this stuff keeps coming up about, like, groups that are, like, child trafficking and feeding off of, like, pure energy, and whether it's of a child or someone like myself who has a childlike energy. And, but just that beginning part was such a confirmation. And so, I guess Mr. Gerald, I think you say Fasion is his last name. It's Fasion. I guess he's part of this. And the only thing I really regretted was that I didn't take a picture of the license plate as I was approaching the black van, because, later when all this stuff comes out, if I had, then they could track the, vehicle and see who the owner. Well, maybe, I don't even know who the owner is. I don't know that I believe that it's a van, that the taxi cab person, but I don't believe it for a minute. He's a taxi. He just wouldn't even say he was a taxi driver. It was such an odd thing. Almost like he didn't want to say yes, because then, like, if I wasn't the right person, like, I would want a ride, and they weren't wanting to give just anybody a ride. Yeah, I don't know. It was just so odd. And so, I don't know at this point, like, just everybody know where I am. I've already been feeling that some people know who I am, and some people around me who maybe have even tried to befriend me are part of this, because that's the way it goes. That's the way it's been.